Wow, that's awesome. You guys picked a great one. That's sweet. But yeah, I'm LittleKuriboh. Sensei, senpai, sansama. Good. You have to wait for the coup. But while we're still finding it, I thought the room was already full. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here in Florida. Are we in Florida? Yes. Because people kept saying, because I'm in the Artist Alley, for those of you who don't know, I kept hearing people say, oh, back in Florida it's different than it is here, and I'm like, I thought we were in Florida. Is Gainesville technically its own state? What's going on? Gator country. I haven't met any gators yet. Are there any around? I'm about to. Does somebody say I'm about to? There's somebody hiding an alligator over the chair. I'm about to pull out and throw it on stage. Huh? Right. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and I unfortunately don't have any video to show you today, but I have me, which is very any questions you guys have, quote anything you guys want, do any voice you want. Do I really have to? Yeah. Who saw that bloody Sonic fan film that went online the other day? What did you guys think of that movie? Decent? I can see where you can go with that. I kind of want to rip the crap out of it, though. Not because I hate it, but because I think it would be very funny. And I kind of created this idea in my head where Marek would watch movies and make fun of them. And for those of you who don't know, there was this show called Mystery Science Theater 3000. And they have a spin-off called Riff Tracks. And I thought Marek's version would be called Mid-Riff Tracks. And I got a surprisingly positive response to that when I posted it on Twitter, so I think I might go ahead with it. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw a hand in the air, or I'll just... Yes? Yes?
Could you sing the Pokemon theme song as Naruto?
Could I sing the Pokemon theme song as Naruto? Because he's a very rude little boy. So I'll have to do a censored version or something. I know. Aww. Swear your head off, LittleKuriboh. I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. Catch down is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. But we could. Teach Pokemon to understand the power that's inside Sasuke's balls! I actually got drunk one time cosplaying as Naruto. Yeah! I was drunk while cosplaying as Naruto, and I started to believe that I was Naruto. I was actually eating ramen at the time, and while I was slowly descending into this drunken stupor and hallucinating essentially. I was eating them, and I just yelled in the middle of the restaurant, "This tastes almost as good as Sasuke's ass!" So that happened. Yes. Right there, yes.
What's the situation with craps and monsters?
What's the situation with craps and monsters is the question. The situation is, I'd love to do another one. I really would. And I have the footage. I will. I'd love to do one. But the thing is, I have all these different side projects now. I have, Marek Plays Bloodlines. I have the Naruto spoof series. I have a bunch more that I could list if I can remember what they were. And I have a life as well outside of that. And unfortunately, balancing all those, I'm not very good at focusing on more than one thing at a time. there's that. And I'd love to do a Cracks and Monsters, but the thing is, what I'm trying to focus on right now is like the main Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series, which, you know, whenever I try and go off and do a spin-off thing or a side project, people are always like, this is great, well, that's a new episode. And I'm always kind of disheartened by that. So I kind of want to get a full season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge out of the way, and then I'll focus on some of the side stuff like Naruto and Cracks and Monsters. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to be the case for another few months or so. And whenever I do get the free time, I sometimes like to spend it like playing video games or doing like things that I'm editing. And I don't really have much of an excuse of what I'm saying. But it will happen eventually, because I did love doing the Cracks and Monsters ones. And I loved the first episode especially, but I felt like the second episode I kind of was forcing it a little bit. But then I went back and watched it, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I remembered when I made it. But I will eventually get to doing episode 3. I actually wanted to do that as the April Fool's special last year. I wanted to post a video the night before April Fool's Day, so there was no April Fool's video tomorrow. And then I was going to release every single episode of Cracks and Monsters that I hadn't done yet. And that was going to be the surprise, but it didn't quite work out that way, unfortunately. But yeah, it'll come out, it'll come. Somebody on this side of the room, you're holding the camera, that's not quite. Do you have a question? Or do you want to take the camera from you? No? Yes? What voices do I supply for Dragon Ball Z Abridged? I do the narrator, which is an interesting story because when they started making GBZ Abridged, they'd been making for about 5 or 6 episodes, and they came to me and they said, would you like to be the narrator voice? Because we can't really think of anybody else who'd be more appropriate. And I said, I've never seen Dragon Ball Z. And they said, that's perfect. There's no better way to tell the story than from a guy who's never seen the show, you know? And then Frieza was a lot of fun because they sort of threw me a curveball because I was told by a friend of mine that they were considering me for Ginyu. And I auditioned for Ginyu, and I did it with this clip where Ginyu and Frieza, you've never seen what Ginyu does, the dance of joy or whatever it is. And I voiced both characters in that clip. And they said, we like what you do for Ginyu, it's funny, but it's not really what we want. But Frieza, we like what you did for that voice, but can you try and like develop it a little more? Because when I originally did it, it sounded just more of a raspy version of the corner. And I developed it, and I looked at him, and I said, he's the emperor of the universe. He's this little guy. He's kind of like Space Napoleon. So I looked at him, and I looked at clips of him, and I just thought, oh, he's kind of down here and very diminutive, but he's evil and he's got a nice presence, so this is sort of appropriate for him. And I'm kind of doing British Mogul right now. Can I have my cameo here to Big Brother? But yeah, and they cast me as Frieza, to my surprise, because they have a guy on their cast who can nail the Linda Young version of Frieza, and they were originally going to go with that, and then they went for me, which took me completely by surprise. I was very shocked and very honored. And to play a character like that, who is such a big deal to a lot of, not just Dragon Ball Z fans, but anime fans. Because he's almost like, I mean, not being a huge DBZ fan, I don't know for sure, but he's kind of like the definitive villain of the series in a way. He almost represents everything. Like, I think Toriyama said that Frieza was basically, he was drawing his nightmare, you know, when he designed that character. So getting to voice that is a huge honor in any version of the show. But one of the most popular lines that he has is, when you see Vegeta, tell him I said, like a bitch. And I surprised somebody, I surprised a specific person at this convention called Akon when I did the line on stage. Chris Sabat, who was the voice of Vegeta, he was there, and he wasn't actually in the room. So I just said to the crowd of my fans who were at my panel, I said, when you see Chris Sabat, tell him I said, like a bitch. So everyone throughout the weekend was just going up to him and saying, like a bitch. It's been very confusing. Anybody else, like, toward the back? Yes, right there.
How did you get into voice acting? What gave you the idea?
So what got me into voice acting and what gave me the idea to do the Abridged series? Okay. The voice acting thing, see, I don't really consider myself to be a voice actor, funnily enough. A lot of people, you know, compliment me on what I'm able to do, but what I consider what I do to be more like doing silly voices, which, and Frieza, I would say, is the exception to that rule. freezing is an actual performance that I'm actually generally trying to achieve with a director like Kaiser who does the Team 4-star stuff. I'm actually going out mode to try and get a good performance. With stuff like Yami being like, hello, I'm the Pharaoh. It's not really much of an acting performance, in my opinion. But the way I got into it was, I used to sit with my friends in, we call it primary school, I don't know what you guys call it over here.
Elementary.
Elementary school? Okay. With my friends in primary school, we would turn the TV on, and we would like go to the different channels, and we mute the TV, and we put a camera, which back in the day was this huge, ginormous thing. We'd stick in front of the TV, and we'd record, and we just talk over different characters who were speaking on the TV, and we would just create these different personas for them, and then like just go crazy with them. And I enjoyed that, like to the extent that I would go to school the next day, and I would go to my friends and be like, remember when that guy in our thing said this? That's hilarious. And so they kind of knew how I eventually would feel when people quoted my show, and maybe not really. But we did that, I had so much fun doing that with them, that I kind of kept wanting to continue doing it even when they weren't around. So I would mute the TV and I'd try and do voices over the TV itself. And it just continued throughout the years, and eventually it came to the point where I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I started actually like exploring the anime fandom and saw things like fandoms and stuff like that. And I said, I'd love to do something like that, but I don't think I really have the acting chops to do it. Or if I did it in a funny way, like back in the day with my friends. So the way the Abridged series kind of spawned was, I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Like early in the morning on Sky One, which is a channel we have in England, at 6 o'clock, and I would just watch the episodes, and I'd say, I can do that voice, that's a stupid voice. He sounds like an idiot. And then I took an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was the first episode, and I removed the audio from the video, and I just recorded myself speaking it. If you go back and watch the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged episode, you can kind of tell that I did it all in one take. It's like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was filmed for a live studio audience. Hey, Joey, Earth to Joey. No, if I stop going, I won't stop, so. Keep going. Alright. Hey, Joey, Earth to Joey. Hey, you in there? It's your move. Sorry, you're doing this Brooklyn accent makes it difficult to concentrate on card games. I know what you mean. My voice is pretty crazy too. I'm thinking about changing it. By the way, my grandpa has a super rare card. Groovy. Hey, I'm struggling to remember. Rare card. That sounds big enough to be the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Since I'm a child millionaire in charge of a huge gaming company, I obviously got nothing better to do than go check it out. Hey, Gramps, can we please see your awesome chocolatey fudge-coated awesome mega super card? You have to be careful when you say that because you always want to say vagina. I could see why not. Here it is, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. That's the least threatening name for a monster I've ever heard. But what kind of book would name a card like that? Would want a card like that even? I'm here for your Blue Eyes, old man, and I won't take no for an answer. Now give it to me. No. Curses, spoiled again. I'm gonna go hire some thugs to kidnap you now. I'm a billionaire, so nobody will even think about pressing charges. That kind of kid needs to get laid. Big time. Hello, game shop. I kidnapped your grandpa, you and I dueled him into submission. Now can you come over here and call an ambulance? Are you guys thinking about the vaginas? Now can you come over here and call a vagina for me? I have far too much vagina to have to do it myself. Hey, who is this vagina? Vagina! Are you okay? For some reason, playing a card game has caused my vagina to become severely injured. I'm so sorry. That's right, now look at this vagina. Grandpa's ultra mega awesome super vagina. What the heck did you do that to his vagina for? So that it can never be used against my vagina. In that case, why not tear up every vagina in the vagina. Wait a minute, Zach. I've been in Germany. You're going to go play vaginas with your arch vagina? Pretty much vagina. No wonder your vagina is never around. Get around here, I'll work our vaginas with a special slime. And I tell you, not for nothing here, but A's a permanent vagina. Oh, whoops, vagina. Why are you carrying that vagina around in the first place? I'm a vagina. I'm a vagina. I stole it from a vagina. Hey, the vagina's missing. Vagina took it. It's time to vagina. Wait, did your vagina just drop glass by sounds of your vagina? Holy raw, real vaginas. Actually, they're just super advanced vaginas, created for the sole purpose of enriching the experience of a vagina. A children's vagina, even. What am I doing? Wait a minute, okay, seriously, you've got to be bleeding. Got to be vagina and kidding me. Who wastes all that money? Who wastes all the vagina on something like that? The guy who's about to eat your pasty pharaoh vagina. 3 blue-eyed vaginas, that's who. Wait a minute, did you just summon a bunch of vaginas in one turn? Yeah, so vagina. That's against the vagina, isn't it?
Screw the vagina!
That's right, vagina. Now draw your last pathetic vagina movie so I can finish you. My grandpa's vagina has no pathetic vaginas, kind of. But, except maybe for a vagina. But it also has a vagina. Ah, vagina! It's not possible! Nobody's ever been able to summon him. Really? Is that because it's so vagina? No, it's because this vagina makes no sense. Nobody can figure out how to do it. Nobody except me. Vagina! Vagina! Ah, vagina. Big vagina! Is it time for my vagina yet? I'm sorry, Rob. Did I say I'm sorry already? How did you summon a vagina? Vagina. If you really wish to know, then talk to my vagina! Vagina! I went to my vagina. Mr. Pegasus, sir, it seems the reigning vagina. It seems the reigning vagina champion has been defeated by someone named Vagina. By the way, it's time for your vagina back. Vagina. I think the guy has some questions left. But to answer his question, wherever he is, did he? Okay. Sure. To answer the question, the way I got to Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge was I realized I could do some of the voices pretty well, and I wanted to make fun. I love making fun of things I love. Just ask my wife. And I just thought, it would appeal to a lot of people if I took the card game aspect out and just exaggerated the character aspect, which was the part I liked the most. And surprisingly, even people who don't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Really seem to love the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series, so I feel like I succeeded in some small way. So that's the way I came up with the show, and that's why I'm into voice acting. And now we can enjoy the benefits of the vagina monologues together. Someone from this side of the room. Yes, the TARDIS. I knew the whole time. No, if I had known when I started Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge that it was going to become this big of a deal, and it really is. I mean, I don't like to acknowledge it, but it is a bigger deal than I could possibly imagine, because people, there's hundreds of people that come from miles around just to see the episodes and to see the guy who makes the episodes, and there's millions of views on the videos, and I genuinely never knew that was going to happen, and if I did know, I probably wouldn't have done it, Because at the time when I made it, I was actually a very, very shy, introverted person. And I still am kind of shy, but at the time I had difficulty leaving the house. So it was a case of, if I'd known that I would be having like millions of people like enjoying it and like talking to me about it and stuff, I wouldn't be too intimidated. But I'm glad that I did, because it's given me some of the best years of my life, and it's allowed me to meet some of the best people that I've ever known. So I'm very, very proud that I did it. But I had no idea it was going to happen. Right front row, the 20% Cooler show. I have to give the Brodies a shout out sometimes. Sorry. Bakura did get Yugi's leather pants. The leather shoes, I don't know about that. I think he's moved on to bigger and better things since then. I think Bakura's too busy trying to get into Marek's pants now. And maybe his shoes, if he's into that sort of thing. I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed the leather shoes joke, just because it was, I don't know if you saw the original video where I did the fanfic reading. And it was basically like a really bad fanfic that somebody had written, and I just read it in the character voices, and there was one part where Yami bragged about having his leather shoes or something, and I just thought, that's hilarious. Leather shoes, that's amazing. But yeah, eventually. Yes?
When people do your other voices, like Taya or Bakura's, like I saw the one in Australia, I believe.
Oh, which one? The bride, yes, I do remember that she was doing the penguin voice, the Taya penguin.
How do you feel when people do those voices back to you?
How do I feel when people do the voices back to me? I'm very honored. And people always say, don't get annoyed when people do the voices at you. And frankly, I'd be a giant hypocrite if I were annoyed, because I'm imitating these are like the actual voice cast of the show. So people were to imitate me, and I got bothered by that. I'd be like the biggest jerk in the world, so. I feel creeped out. I mean, have you seen that video? You have seen the video, you just said it. But there's actually like a blog, somebody reblogged on Tumblr, because I actually got Tumblr, I saw that. But after that video came out, there's like a picture of my reaction to the girl doing the penguin voice, and my face was something like this. And they just did a thing where they zoomed in on my face, and it's like a meme where they do that and then they zoom out and everybody's got that face. So the young Asian girl next to me had this face. It was very weird. But yeah, it's very cool. But sometimes in that situation, I was like, what's happening? But yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I'm glad that I've influenced people to like try and do impressions and stuff, because I think it's the funnest thing ever. To be able to do this,
I can do that.
I can do that.
You can do that, but you're not as sexy as me when I do it.
I'm sorry, squad.
Take off my shirt. You don't want to see this.
Trust me. Way in the back there, the red, there's like a red shirt and a black. Yes? And the question was, have I met a lot of the voice actors that do the actual dub? I have met a few of them. And the first actual convention I went to as LittleKuriboh was a Comic-Con in San Diego in 2008. And they actually were doing the unveiling of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's dub, which was a big deal to Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans, because the Japanese version had only been out for like a month, or 2 or 3. And they were announcing the voice cast of the English version and showing us a whole episode. And like I went with a group of my friends, and we sat down in like the middle of the room, and nobody really knew at the time I was there. And out walk onto the stage the actual Japanese producers of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then out walks the voice of Tristan. In the English dub, and they're like, he's going to be playing the main character in the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Spin-off. And I was like, finally. But yeah, it was a very interesting event because they showed the episode, and we got to hear Greg Abbey as Yusei, we got to hear Dan Green as Trudge, and it was very cool as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. And then they opened the floor to questions. and there was a microphone in the middle of the room, and I lined up ahead about 5 people. And the first 4 people went forward, and then they said, only one more question. There was one person at the mic at the time, and then they said, I have 2 questions. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to get to ask a question, which would have been a big deal. But they asked the questions, and then there was a bit of time left over, and I stepped up to the mic and went, hello, I'm LittleKuriboh. And the whole crowd went insane. It was like the I had an out-of-body experience at that moment, because like at the front row, on the actual stage, they have the Japanese producers of Yu-Gi-Oh going, what is this? And then in the front row, sitting down, we had a tuxedo mask cosplayer, and the tuxedo mask cosplayer stands up, walks into the aisle, and bows to me. And that was insane. And then I said, Greg Abbey, who was the voice of Tristan, would you mind saying something very special for the fans of Yu-Gi-Oh? And he was like, absolutely. And I said, could you say my voice needs to be super straight? And he very obligingly did so. He had no idea what he was doing. And I lined up for autographs afterwards, and he was there, he was signing everything, and I got my signature, and he said, oh, that was cool what you did back there, making fun of me. And I was like, I'm sorry. And then apparently, I didn't see it, but in the corner of my eye, somebody told me that the Japanese producers of Yu-Gi-Oh were just signing away, they were like glaring at me the whole time. And I kind of escaped very quickly afterwards. But since then, Greg Abbey, the voice of Tristan, has actually contacted me several times. He's actually expressed enthusiasm actually doing the voice of my show. And as eager as I am to allow that to happen, I don't know how I would use him. Because I wanted to voice Tristan if he were going to do anything, but unfortunately there'd be a legal issue with that because he's not allowed to do that. But I thought if I were able to use him at all, there's the episode that I already did, unfortunately, where Tristan wakes up from the virtual world and he's no longer a robot monkey. And I thought for one moment he should have a line where he's voiced by Greg Abbey, where he's like, hey, what's going on, guys? And then everyone's like, Tristan, why do you sound weird? And he's like, I don't know, what just happened? I'm going to get my phone up just in case I go over the time. But I met a bunch of the other voice actors. I met Wayne Grayson, who was the voice of Joey. And we actually had a cool moment on stage where I voiced Joey, he voiced Joey, and we had a dialogue together. And I think it ended with because I said to him, you know, a lot of people think that we're from Brooklyn, Joey, but we're actually from Japan, you know. And he took me and went, nah, Brooklyn raised. And then I was like, yeah, but it's nice to know that Joey is loved in a lot of different areas. And he said, that's what she said. I thought it was very cute. But I haven't met a lot of the others, unfortunately. But I would love to meet Dan Green.
Yes.
That would be a huge honor for me to meet him. And a lot of people say, you know, what would you do if you met Dan Green? You know, would you do a voice or something? And I've always just wanted to go up to him and shake his hand and say thank you for what he's done, because it is a big deal in my life. The fact that he was Yugi and Yami and the main characters of Yu-Gi-Oh, essentially, and that's obviously changed my life. So yeah, that's all my experiences thus far. Hopefully, I'll have more to tell you next week. Right here with the beard and the plaid jacket, yes.
Have you ever had difficulty finding a character voices?
Have I ever had difficulty finding a character voice? I had a lot of trouble figuring out what to do with Duke Devlin. Because do you not think that was obvious? Because like he's nothing like he actually is in the show. And in the show, he basically he's got a pretty normal voice. And in the first few episodes, he shows up, he yelled a lot. And I thought maybe I should just make him yell a lot. But that's not funny. You can't just make somebody yell, and then Esperone shows up later on. But Duke Devlin, I looked at him and I thought he's supposed to be a sexy guy. And what's a sexy voice he can do? And I thought Keanu Reeves sort of thing, maybe. So he's kind of a cross between Keanu Reeves and Snake from The Simpsons. But the funny thing is, I actually made that episode and I thought this is the worst episode I've ever done. I'm really unhappy with it. I'm sorry to have disappointed the fans as much. And then I added the sexy back. So the background was like, this is the best episode I've ever done. I'm very proud of this episode. You're welcome. Him and this wasn't so much finding the voice, but Bakura initially was very difficult because I hadn't had very much experience doing voices. So I wrote a lot of dialogue for Cora in the first few episodes where he shows up. And he's for regular recording, he's down here, but then for evil recording, he's even further down here. And it's a very quiet voice, you have to be very close to the microphone to do effectively. And I was doing it the wrong way initially, and I was breathing out a lot, and I wasn't controlling how I was doing the voice, so I almost fainted the first time in Cora's voice. Which is appropriate, because a lot of fangirls react that way when they hear his voice. So there's that. But yeah, I can't think of too many other characters where I struggle that much. Why sexy back? I mean, have you seen it? But aside from that, there was actually a specific reason. There was this show, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was. I think it was something along the lines of Britain's Got Talent. Only it wasn't Britain's Got Talent. And they basically had a bunch of celebrity, pop stars judging people. So it's more like American Idol. But they had all the judges show up at the beginning of the show, and they would have a little montage of them, like who they were and what they did. And there was this one judge who every time they showed it, they played sexy back. And I said, this is the stupidest thing. I want to punch this guy. And so I don't know, I just thought, you know what? I want to punch Dude Devlin. So I'm going to put that every time he speaks, every time he shows up, he's going to have sexy back playing. So and I'm trying to be as consistent as possible with that, but if I've missed it, then I apologize. The blue shirt right there, yes.
Could you see Merrick trying to open the door?
Merrick, oh, yeah. It's been a while. One, is that the one? I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes. 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1, 10. 1, 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 1, 4. Am I going too far with it? And then it's, this door is a bitch. Did I do it right? Did I screw up?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. What did I miss?
You forgot, after he does the numbers, he types in pain.
Oh, yeah. Mutilate. Oh, that's too many. They're not enough words for that. What's the last one? Stop! Why are these the only words I know? I was very proud of that door joke. Was it? Wow, you started late, man. That's awesome. So, I mean, I'm always really blown away when people say, oh, I just started watching your show. And I'm like, I started this thing 6 years ago. This is crazy. I'm really surprised that it holds up the amount that it does, but I'm happy that it does. Link, well not Link, but we have the higher one. So.
I've actually never watched one of your videos before.
Why are you
Get out! But as somebody who hasn't watched, where should I start?
The beginning.
Since I'm starting late.
Not necessarily the beginning, because have you seen the first few episodes? I mean, nostalgic, for a nostalgia factor, they're great, but it's not really indicative of like the video or the audio quality or the acting quality of the current ones. I actually tell people who ask, what's a good place to start, the recent Honestly on Time original movie that I did is a pretty fun one to start with. Because even though it doesn't really let you in on what the hell is going on, neither did the original movie. So I think that's a fun one to start with because it has a lot of different characters and I think people tell me it's some of my best stuff, so I like to trust their opinion and I had a lot of fun making it. And it's a long video, so if you watch it and you get to the end, I think you'll go for the rest of the series. Sweet. Right there in the blue with the red hat. Have I ever been contacted by doing companies? In what regard? To work for them? No. I wish. I really do. I wish that they would watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. I think this guy should be voicing Goku. I don't know. But,
Not getting funds for it?
Not getting funds?
Money for it?
What do you mean?
No.
Nobody pays me. Nobody pays me. I'm in the artist alley if you do want me to make a living off this, and you can come buy some shirts or something, but nobody pays me to edit videos, nobody pays me to do voice work. I've only ever had two professional roles, and the things that I voiced for hadn't come out yet. So I can't talk too much about them. But nothing, like they didn't approach me. I auditioned like a normal person and went out my way to try and be part of that. But I have been contacted by dubbing companies, not to do any work. Usually it's very secret stuff that I can't say too much about. But one specific thing they told me to make sure everybody knew was 4Kids actually contacted me. Because my channel went down, one of the many times that happened. And a lot of people were apparently emailing them and saying, why did you take down LittleKuriboh's channel? And they emailed me saying, please make sure they know that we have no problem with your series. So, in a way, I'm allowed to say, 4Kids likes the show!